This conference will now be recorded.
Let's start today's session. In the last session of Python, we were discuss about types of variables are allowed in class. Like three types of variables are allowed in Python class. That is instance variables, that also called as object level, and then static variables are also called as class level variables, and local variables and also called as method level variables we discuss. And in this session, three types of methods are allowed in Python class. So I'm going to discuss about types of methods. According to our class definition, class is a collection of variables and methods. So in object-oriented programming, inside the class, three types of variables are allowed and three types of methods are allowed. In the last session, we already discussed three types of variables, and today we'll see three types of methods. Okay. Three types of methods. Let me open your project. So these are the three types of methods are allowed. One is instance methods. Instance methods. Next one is class methods. Class methods. Next one is static methods. Static methods. So one thing you just observe in the context of variables. Okay, class variables are also called as static variables. Static variables are also called as class level variables. But in the context of methods, class methods are different, static methods are different. And three types of methods are allowed: instance methods, class methods, static methods. We'll talk about instance method first. Instance methods. What are the instance methods? Instance method. Instance method means inside the method implementation, inside the method implementation, when we use instance variables, then such type of methods are called instance methods. Inside the method implementation, when we use instance variables, then such type of methods are called instance methods. Okay. Next, point number 2, while declaring instance methods, we should pass self. Yes, self is the first parameter of instance methods. Next, we can access instance methods within the class by using self. That means self dot method name. We can access instance methods outside of the class by using object reference. We can access instance methods outside of the class by using object reference. We can access instance methods within the class by using self only. So these are the instance method points. Inside the method implementation, when we use instance variables, then such type of methods are called instance methods. While declaring instance methods, we should pass self. Self is the first parameter of instance methods. Self is the first parameter of instance methods. We can access instance methods within the same class using self dot method name. And we can access instance methods outside of the class using object reference. Outside of the class using object reference through we can access. Let's see the practical implementation. So I'm taking another example here. Test 8. This is instance method example. So here I'm taking a class name called student. And in this class, just I'm taking constructor here. Constructor with parameters like M1, M2, M3. These are what? Marks 1, marks 2, marks 3. This is constructor with parameters. Self dot M1 equals to M1. Self dot M2 equals to M2. Self dot M3 equals to M3 like this. This is constructor with the 3 parameters, marks 1, marks 2, marks 3. These are the fields and these are the parameters. And you know, parameters names and field names need not to be same. We can take different names also, no problem. And I'm taking method called average method. This average method is not a built-in method. It is user-defined method. I just give the name called AVG, or you can give any name. Average also we can call. So I want to calculate the average of student marks like M1, M2, M3 by 3 like that. So I'm using this method, average method. So this method is called instance method, I can say that. Because a method which is declared and after that inside this method, the first parameter of self, and inside this method, when we use instance variables, like I'm going to return self dot M1 plus self dot M2 plus self dot M3 by 3. It is the average of marks. So a method inside the method implementation, when we use instance variables, then such type of methods are called instance method. I'm using instance variables only inside this method implementation, M1, M2, M3, for calculating average of marks 1, marks 2, marks 3 by 3. And while declaring instance method, we have to use self. Self is the first parameter of the instance method. And we can access this instance method within the class, outside the class also. If you want to access this instance method, average method, within the class, self dot average, or else outside the class, object reference name dot average. Okay, this is the case, df average. So next, coming to this, here I'm trying to create object of student class, S1 student object. I'm preparing student, and you know that as soon as when we create object to the class, constructor will execute. So here, what is the constructor? Here, this is the constructor, and it is expecting 3 parameters, M1, M2, M3. So we have to supply this constructor 3 parameters, like marks 1, that is 67, marks 2, 89, marks 3, 56. I'm taking. At the same time, student 2 marks also I'm supplying, student 2 marks, and 98, 78, and 82. This is student 2 marks. So S1 is object reference of student class. This is When we create object for the class, automatically constructor will execute. And constructor through, I'm accepting what actually M1, M2, M3. M1 is 67, M2 is 89, M3 is 56. And you can see self dot M1 equals to M1, M2 equals to M2, M3 equals to M3 like. So S1 equals to student 678956, and S2 equals to student 98 78 82 like this one. Average. This is the average of student marks. And we have to call this method. This is instance method. How to call instance method outside the class. Okay. So to call instance method, what we can say, S1 dot your object name dot average method and object2 dot average method. Just observe here. When we execute this, will you get output or not? Will you get output? Tell me quickly. When I execute as it is this program, so will I get output this M1 plus M2 plus M3 by 3 result? I'm trying to run this code and you can see the output window. There is no output. Can you guess why it is not? Why output is not coming? Please tell me quickly. I'm waiting for your response. Yes, exactly. We are not printing the result. Okay. Look at here. This is the problem. So here the return statement I use again. We are calling the function. Function will call and function will take what actually 67 M1 M2 M3 by 3. 67 plus 89 plus 56 by 3 means result is going to return the value to the calling place. Return statement times return means it will give return value to here. But here we are not printing. That's what the result is not coming clearly. Okay, that means we are not printing the result. So we have to print the result. How to print the result? You can see here we have to print the result. Print S1 dot average. Yes, again here also I'm printing print S2 dot average. So print S2 dot average. Once I run this, now you can see average of student 1 mark 70.66, 86.0% is here. Or else if you don't want to print here, remove this print function here. Instead of return the values from the calling place, like instead of return values to the calling place, here only we can able to print it, no problem. Here we can print sir. This will work out. So now this time average method when we call, then this method will execute by taking M1, M2, M3 marks and it is printing the average values here directly. You can see printing the result. So both are working fine. So this method is called now instance method. Why we can call it as this method is instance method? Because inside the method implementation, when we use instance variables like M1, M2, M3, and these are the instance methods. And while declaring instance method, self is the first parameter of the instance method. And using self, we can access instance variables inside this instance method. And as I said that we can access instance method within the class by using self, and we can access instance methods outside of the class by using object reference. But how I am accessing now at this moment? Outside of the class by using object reference S1 and S2. But how do we call these methods inside the class with the help of self? So let's comment this. I'm not calling these methods outside the class. And inside the class, I'm calling these methods. How to do? Inside the constructor only, I'm calling the average method clearly. So when we create object to the class, constructor will execute and constructor through the values will be initialized this 67, 89, 56. After that, we are calling here only average method, instance method within the same class using self.average. Average method will call and execute here. So this will also fine. Okay. So we can access instance method within the class using self.method name, outside the class using object name dot method name. This is the file. So these are the instance methods clearly. Now coming to the class method. What is class method? How do we work with this? We'll see now. Most important points I'm going to give. And point number one is generally class methods are very rarely used methods in Python. Point number one, class methods are very rarely used methods. Class methods are very rarely used methods in Python. Class methods are very rarely used methods in Python. Okay, what is the class method means? Suppose inside the method implementation, inside the method implementation, when we use class level variables or static level variables, static variables or class level variables, same. Static or class level variables, static or class level variables, then such type of methods are called such type of methods are called class methods. Class methods. Class methods are very rarely used methods in Python programming. Inside the method implementation, when we use static or class level variables, then such type of methods are called class methods. Okay. But while declaring while declaring class methods, class methods, class method, we should pass class variable, that is CLS. CLS is a class variable, sir. While declaring class methods, we should pass class variable, that is CLS. Compulsory should pass class variable, that is CLS only, while declaring class method. And using CLS, we can access static variables inside the class methods. So instance method, while declaring, you have to give self. Class method declaration time, we have to give CLS. Using CLS through, we can access static variables or class level variables inside the class methods. But in Python, if you want to make a method as class method, okay, in Python, to make any method as class method, any method as class method, then we use at the rate of class method decorator. At the rate of class method is a decorator concept. Okay, if you want to convert or if you want to make your method as class method, then we use at the rate of decorator concept. So when we use at the rate of decorator concept, that method is called class method only. I'll show you how to make this method as class method. So these are the very rarely used methods in Python. Inside the method implementation, when we use static or class level variables, then such type of methods are called class methods. While declaring class methods, we should pass class variable, okay, that is CLS. Using CLS, we can access static variables inside the class methods. In Python, to make any method as class method, then we use at the rate of static method decorator. This is the predefined decorator, and we have user-defined decorators also. We'll talk about user-defined decorators in coming session clearly. Okay. So now coming to this in the same example, I'm declaring one static variable, global variable also called as institute name, that is Durga Soft. I'm taking my institute name. This is what variable, you know? Obviously, static variable only. Yeah, static variable only. In the last session, we discussed about variables, no? This is static variable. The variable, which is declared inside the class and outside of the method, is called static variable. So inst is a static variable, Durgasoft static variable here. And coming to this, here I'm creating one method called class method. So let's create df m1 is a method. Now tell me this method is what type of method, sir? Quickly you have to give the answer. What method you consider this method? What is this method? M1 of self I'm saying. Instance method, exactly. Mr. Akshay is giving, no one is giving answer. Please try to understand and give the answer, whether it is wrong or right, no matter it is. M1 is a method that is instance method. Now tell me here I'm taking CLS. Now this time what method it is? What method it is? Do you think? It's still instance method. Okay? Yes, it's still instance method. Because I told clearly while declaring method as instance method, yeah, need to give decorator exactly. Yes. And even though if I give CLS, it doesn't mean that this method is instance method. Okay. The reason is in our previous examples we discussed SELF self name is not compulsory. Instead of self, you can give any name. So here CLS is act as a self only. If you don't give decorator, then it will become instance method only. I am going to give decorator called what method? Class method decorator. Now this time class method it is. So inside this class method, I'm able to access only class level variables using CLS inst institute. Institute is what actually static variable, and this variable I'm trying to access inside the M1 method using what actually CLS only. CLS dot inst like this. Okay, this method is called class method. Inside the method implementation, when we use only static variables or class level variable, such type of methods are called class method. And while declaring class method, we should pass CLS. CLS is the first parameter of the class methods. And using this parameter, we can access class level variables or static variables. And how do we make a method as class method means at the rate of class method decorator and M1 of CLS. Here print CLS inst like this only this is. Okay. Now we have to call class methods. How to call class method means we can see this. We can access class method either by using class name or object reference. We can say that. Okay. We can access class method either by using class name or object reference. We can call it as class name or object reference. So let's see this. This is the class method M1. I'm trying to access this method using class name through like student dot M1 method I'm taking. Generally it is class method, so class method through I'm accessing. So we got institute name also Durgasoft. This is class method, and these are very rarely used method I'm saying. So most commonly used methods in application implementation, instance methods as well as static methods, we can say that. So let's talk about static methods. What is static method? How to work with them? So now coming to the static methods, these methods are very uh, often used methods, and these are general utility methods. Okay, these methods are general utility methods. General utility methods. General utility methods are general usage methods. Generally, these methods can be used. Static methods. And while declaring static methods, we should not pass any self or CLS. While declaring static methods, we should not pass any self or CLS. Generally, while declaring instance method, we should pass first parameter self. While declaring class methods, we should pass first parameter is CLS. Here, while declaring static methods, we should not pass any self or CLS. Okay, we are not passing any self or CLS. So instead of self or CLS, you can pass any variables, any parameters, your own parameters or no parameters. This is. So these are the general utility methods. While declaring static methods, we should not pass any self or CLS. Okay, but to make a method as static, to make method as static, if you want to make method as static, then we use at the rate of static method decorator. We have to use at the rate of static method decorator. To make a method as static, then we use at the rate of static method decorator, sir. Compulsory you have to use static method decorator. So next, how to access static methods? We can access static methods either by using class name or object reference. We can say we can access static methods either by using class name or object reference name through also we can access. So these methods are general utility methods. While declaring static methods, we should not pass any self or CLS. And to make method as static, then we use at the rate of static method decorator. And we can access static methods either by using class name or CLS, we can call it. This is what actually static methods implementation. Let's see this here. Static method I'm taking. Static method means our own method it is. Now you can say def add method I'm taking, or else F1 method I'm taking, any method. Or else let's go for M2 method, M2. But this is instance method right now. So I don't give any values. Okay. So now you can see print hello, I can say that simple logic, print hello. This is expecting self only here because it is instance method. You can see method must have a first parameter usually called self only. But when it is allow as a static method means you have to be use a decorator called static method decorator. Then it will allow you to declare your own method without any parameters or with parameters. Got my point? And even you can use any parameters also like this here. Okay. So later I'll show you. And this is static method. And static method I'm trying to call by using object reference or class also. S1.m2 I'm taking. Hello is coming clearly. Okay, sorry. S1 is having int object reference. So S1.m2 means M2 is method actually. Here S1 is having already reference, no? That's what it's not calling here. The reason is why S1 is having average reference. Average reference. So now you can see we are getting again into line number 23. S1.m2 int object is not callable. Yeah. S1 is having reference object. What is the reference? Okay, S1 is having parameter called this reference already there. So that's what we can do. Static method M2 here. I can use class name only, no problem. M2. Then this is why not calling object reference through, this S1 is having the reference of this average marks. S2 is having reference of average marks. That's what we are unable to call this M2 method using object reference. Generally, if you don't have reference, then you can able to call this method M2 also object reference. But right now I'm taking student.m2 only. This is what actually static method hello. Static methods through. And you can pass parameter also here. You can see name. And while calling the static method name, I'm passing here like Mohan. And hello name I'm taking here. So this will also working fine. Now you can see hello Mohan is coming. So you can use your own parameter name, and you need not to use any self or CLS while creating static method. So the method, how to recognize instance method, simple. A method which is having self, and inside the method when we pass instance variables like M1 and M2, M3, this is called instance method. And how to recognize a method as class method, a method which is declared with the help of CLS. The first parameter is CLS, and this method is class method. Now you can say at the rate of class method decorated through, we can recognize this method as class method. And M2 is there, M2, and this method is static method. We can easily recognize the method with the decorator at the rate of static method decorator. So recognition is important here. At least you should be in a position to recognize what method it is. This is instance method. How do you recognize method with self? And along with self, we have instance variables. This is class method. How to recognize? At the rate of class method decorator is there, and one method is there, CLS, print CLS dot inst. And this is static method. And def M2, M2 is a method name, print hello name. So M2 is what actually method name here, static method, your own variable is there. And this is what actually normal method, M2 of name, print hello name, S1 student, S2 student. This is object reference. We are calling average method, and we are calling all methods like this M1, M2 here. Yeah, one question. In instance invocation of methods, is it necessary to put object name equals to class name of variables? Obviously, because constructor is there, no? Constructor is there. If constructor is not there, he can pass here parameters here only. Yeah, obviously. See, when we create object to the class, who will execute? Constructor will execute. So M1, M2, M3 are expecting some parameters, constructor. So immediately it will go to constructor here. And constructor through, we are initializing the values to this M1, M2 fields. These are fields left hand side. These are parameters, constructor parameters. Then after that, we are calling average marks. Or else this fields directly you can pass is the average marks only, average method. You can pass it directly while calling method. While calling method also, you should pass 3 parameters at the time. Okay. So these are the 3 types of methods. Strictly remember, methods are important. Types of variables are important, and types of methods also important here. So these 3 types of methods and 3 types of variables, you just keep it in your mind, so that we'll continue in tomorrow session. Next session tomorrow I'll take, and that in that session I will cover so how to delete static variables. Like once we understand this instance methods, class methods, static methods, then we can able to delete instance variable. We can able to delete static variables inside the method implementation. Okay, so we'll look into that once we join this. Once we complete this methods, no. So we completed this instance method, static method, class method, so that we can understand easily. So how to handle the static variables now. We discussed previous examples, only static variables, few points only, but we have not discussed much more. But today we'll see, tomorrow we'll see static variables, how to delete, and we will proceed and next further object-oriented programming. And almost we complete basics of object-oriented programming, and I'm ready to start with object-oriented programming features like encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, abstraction, and so on. Okay. Yes. So see you tomorrow. And Mr. Akshay, and today you don't join Django also at 8 a.m. So I'm just leaving to my institute now. So due to some uh, demo. So today only I'll not take 8 a.m. Django class. And tomorrow onwards we'll continue 8 a.m. Django also here. Okay. Anyway, you're joining the 8 a.m. Django also. That's what I'm intimating you here itself. And in our WhatsApp group also, I'll post it here today. No Django class at 8 a.m. and we'll continue from tomorrow.